Beef.
Exactly, so you better get doing that right now. Over to you, pal.
I'm making this video today
Oh no.
that I didn't initially want to make. Now she looked at me and she said no. 70% goes to me,
Oh man.
Pearl.
Yikes.
30% goes to me.
That's kind of
She could be
wild.
owning 10.
Those are some aggressive contracts that they're writing over there in the Just Pearly Things world.
80-20 is crazy, bro.
Okay, what's going on with our good friend Pearly Things? Just Pearly Things.
If you have watched 2 or more of our videos and you have not subscribed, then we have what, pal?
Beef.
What do we have?
Beef.
Exactly, so you better get doing that right now. Before
Tell
we
'em.
even get started, all right? If you have watched 2 or more of our videos and you have not subscribed,
Tell them.
then we have what, pal?
Beef.
What have we got?
Beef.
Exactly, so you better get doing that right now. Over to you, pal.
I'm making this video today
Oh no.
that I didn't initially want to make. Now recently, Just Pearly Things has been caught up in some controversy. Why? She has interviewed avid racist and known racist Nick Fuentes.
Fuentes.
He is also an anti-Semite. What did Pearl do when she interviewed him? What she done was that she laughed with him and seems to agree with a lot of his points.
Talk about instances of like when they initially freed the slaves, there were some slaves that felt so indebted to their owners that they would travel across states to pay them back, and they actually had a really good relationship with them.
Now, if she had said some of these things about the Jewish community, she would have been cancelled in a hot minute. Ask Kyrie Irving. Ask Kanye West. After that interview, Pearl decided to make an apology video, which was, in my personal point of view, disingenuous and a PR stunt.
Ooh.
And all in all, it came from a place of deception.
Guys, people say that stuff about me. They say I'm sexist. They say I'm a misogynist. And, you know, I really just like to give people the benefit of the doubt when I interview them. I don't go into interviews trying to interrogate someone. I just more try to listen and see where they're coming from. In hindsight, that wasn't smart. And in hindsight, I should have had someone, you know, maybe Sarah Garvey, maybe another content creator that could have pushed back more and really was more educated on the topics that he was talking about than I was, because I certainly was not an expert in any of the stuff.
Pearl was reacting to my content prior to coming to the UK. And so when she came to the UK, I was very interested in the content that she would actually put out. And it just so happened that she was putting out content that I was interested in, similar to what the late great Kevin Samuels actually put out. And I understand it because I myself had been embroiled in court cases and things of that nature when it comes to the mother of my son, and understand that the gynocentric order in which we live in is something that needs to be spoken about. So when she came to London, she said that she wanted to make a podcast, and I said no problem. And I decided to feature on her show. Now, when I featured on her show, because of my following in the UK, people would tune in. So essentially, I helped Pearl grow her channel. Okay, I was on there week to week, and I was working with her based on a fee. So the tragic death of Kevin Samuels happened, and there was a vacuum within the manosphere space. Who was it going to be filled by? It was actually filled by Just Pearly Things, along with other content creators. Now, I believe that the reason why this space was filled is because Kevin Samuels had a large following of black men. And these black men were essentially fed up with the way feminism had taken over their community, specifically their women. So when he died, there was a vacuum and a lot of black men looking for content like this. And it was filled by Pearl. And I believe that Pearl rose to fame because she herself was the opposite of what those men had been seeing. She was a white woman. She wasn't the types of women that they had been seeing, and essentially she was regurgitating Kevin Samuels' content. So I began working with Pearl, and from the beginning I started to think that maybe this girl has a colonial mindset. Now, we all know that we don't want to be paranoid.
Jesus.
So I kept working with her.
Colonial.
However, the more I worked with her is the more that I saw. She had a...
It's like, there are so many good reasons to attack Pearl. Pearl, if you watch this video, I'm not defending you. F you, okay? You piece of shit, okay? There are so many good reasons to attack Pearl, ideologically. But like... colonialist? Bruv. Get me the f out of here, please. Get me out of this world. Colonialism? That's the avenue we're taking?
Colonial type viewpoint when it came to black people. And I had to school her a few times on what it was like to be black and the black experience, and also what slavery and colonization was actually like.
Do you think that historical catastrophes must be compensated for?
No.
No.
That's stupid.
So then, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing.
Yeah.
So then, how come there were groups of people that got compensation then?
How come?
For instance, like Jewish people, Chinese people, Japanese people with the bombs. Like there were groups of people who got compensated.
I don't know.
So it wasn't fair.
What? Well, I'm talking about like when I think about group, I think about reparations. So I mean, maybe if the people were still alive today, like I don't know, maybe. But like when you said historical, I thought you meant like at the past.
Okay. This is not him schooling her. This is him being passive as fuck to get his bag. Am I missing something? He literally said, I don't have an opinion if it's right or wrong. Is this supposed to be him like hardcore coming out and like... Hold on. 10 out of 10 meme, invoke, or ban. This better be 10 out of 10.
All right, man, you're all set. Have a great weekend.
You're on a 7-day break from that. 10 out of 10 meme? That was like a 6 out of 10.
Present.
Yeah, so like in the past, so like people talk about slavery. So in the past, you know, the Holocaust happened. In the past, you know, the Japanese, but people got compensated for it.
Yeah.
There's a book, right, called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And when you read that book, you realize that the whole Industrial Revolution and stuff like that was started because of the colonization. And you just think, well, if you didn't do that, then you wouldn't be as successful.
So what do you mean by the colonization?
So the colonization of Africa, so both the people and the resources, right? There's a direct correlation between the colonization of Africa and the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
And so with all the metals and the rubber and all this kind of stuff coming from Africa, it fueled the Industrial Revolution of the West.
Wait, so you're saying like in Africa, when you say colonize, you're saying like did England come in and colonize?
Yeah, like so European, France, Spain, Portugal, England. And
they like enslaved Africans, and that's what you're saying. Okay.
So they enslaved and at least colonized the continent. Okay. So when you colonize a continent and then you take ownership of the resources, you're able to gather those resources together and use them to your own benefit. Right. And so you gather those resources, use them to your own benefit, and build up your economy, all the while messing up the economy of that actual country.
So that video was filmed in 2022. And in that video, what you saw was me attempting to tell Pearl and show Pearl
the real 10/10
colonization
was making you pause this dog shit Pearly video. I win GigaChad.
How people went to another group of people and took their resources and took what was theirs and built their empire off of it. So when Pearl now plays like she doesn't know what colonization is and she doesn't know what slavery is, and she says these insensitive statements.
Okay, that wasn't the best explanation. The reason why colonization is wrong isn't because you go to a country and you take resources or whatever, right? I mean, like, it's a little bit, I feel like you can give a better explanation of that, right? The reason why colonization was shitty was because more developed countries like Europe, Spain, and France, I don't know how many countries Portugal colonized, but these huge empires, is they would take their advanced technology, they would go to these African countries, they would essentially rob them of their resources, right? Because they were able to trade way more preferentially, and because they would just conquer and own the lands. But the problem is when they took those places over, they took all of the resources and they shipped them back to their homelands, and then they built those countries up really big, right? So a lot of these countries, when people say a country is built on exploitation, that's kind of what they're talking about, right? That's like a little bit more of a succinct explanation, because it sounded like he's kind of like dancing around before, like they went there and blah, blah, blah. But the issue is that you're literally going to some place, you're stealing all their shit, and you're leaving that place kind of you're building up your own country, and then later on in the future, you're like, oh, well, why does your country suck so much? It's like, well, your entire industrial revolution was built off the resources that you came and stole from us, right? But that's like the argument for colonialization and all that shit. Blah, blah, blah.
In that video, I actually attempted to give her a book. It was called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. I've read it myself. She semi-dismissed that book. She kind of dismissed that book, and then she went on.
You didn't even tell her to read it.
You go and interview a man like Nick Fuentes. Pearl has Africans that work for her. Now, Nigeria has many issues. Now, the disparity in Nigeria has rich and poor people living just on the breadline. And Pearl has these types of people working for her. They edit her videos. They make her thumbnails.
So, look what I have here. This is evidence to show how hard my Americans work.
No, hold on. You forgot, yeah? This is how hard my white Americans work.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
They're very hard workers.
Yes.
I like how they work. My white Americans really work hard. You see that?
They inspire us to work hard.
No. Do you know what? They don't even inspire. They're working hard for themselves, bro.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're putting in a lot of work, yeah? They put in a lot of work. My white Americans
You guys should
work hard.
Work hard.
Yeah, you can.
So Pearl has taken people on from Africa, which on the surface looks like a good thing. And I guess it is. Africans are being fed, they're taking money from her, they are feeding their family. Amazing. However, with a colonial mindset, this can be quite dangerous.
You know what? I don't like it when these guys will get all high and mighty over these racial issues, because it's super convenient right now to do it. How long was this guy working with Pearl? I've been in her studio. I've talked to her. I know that she's hired all those people. Why is he waiting until now to say something? Why did you wait until now to bring this out? Now that she had Fuentes, now that all the drama's turning, was this not? I thought this was day one. I think we talked about this on Saucecast, where didn't she say that did I call her out for hiring a whole bunch of Africans and shit to run her channel because she pays them so did I say this on the Saucecast when we argued on that panel once?
I had a lot of my contractors didn't know literally anything about video editing, and we trained them. And
you had to train them.
These are people in third world countries with no skills.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to say you're hiring people in India to video edit, which makes it even harder for the average person listening to make money video editing. So if you want to pay somebody $5 or $20 to edit a video, for the people listening at home, that's even more difficult for you.
The guy,
you've known this has been happening the entire time. You've known this has been happening the entire time. Why are you just now coming out and saying it? I'll say this about every black guy that criticized Adam22's interview with Spencer, the one that we did with Spencer. If you came out and you were critical of that interview and you didn't watch it, you are a culture vulture. That is what you are. You are riding off of black plight, black culture, and you don't even know what you don't even care about it. You're just doing it to get views and clicks. And I think it's disgusting, okay? If you truly didn't like this shit, I thought it was always kind of weird and scummy. I'm pretty sure I called it out as soon as I saw it. Why the couldn't you? It's your people. I don't know. I feel like it's super cringe how opportunistic all these people get around the racial issues and shit. To be as good faith as possible, could it not be that there had always been a problem with it, but the Nick Fuentes thing was the last straw, and he sort of recontextualizes how he sees what is going here? Why? The Nick Fuentes thing doesn't change anything. Whether she did or didn't have him on there, she openly brags about paying fucking Indonesian and fucking is it in Nigerian? I don't remember if she said that. Poor people and Indian people, I think, to do some of her editing work and shit. She openly brags about it, I'm pretty sure. She brags about that. She's bragged about it on her YouTube shorts. I think I've seen it on TikTok. I've seen it when I talked to her on that Adam show. This behavior has been always there. I don't know. It's just
And what happened during that interview with Nick Fuentes was that she used an age-old tactic that colonizers use, which was a divide and rule tactic. She pitted African Americans versus Africans when she spoke about how hard Africans work compared to how hard African Americans work.
Man, I want to be really careful because I don't know, blah, 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 you know, etc., all the standard caveats or whatever. But I've always been told from Africans and from African Americans that Africans fucking hate African Americans. The idea that white people are the ones that do that, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the people that I've talked to have been biased or whatever, but almost every African that I've spoken to and almost every African American I've spoken to says that Africans fucking hate African Americans. I don't know if you need white people to pit them against each other, but I could be wrong. That's total anecdote. I know you guys don't know this sometimes, but I'm not black. I don't have that experience. Maybe it's not true, but yeah.
And she also used the term, my Africans. Much of what Pearl says is determined by her management, which she has said to me on many occasions that she shares with Candace Owens. So when you have a colonial mindset and you have a management who tell you what to say, what generally happens in my personal point of view and what I actually saw was that she began to start paying people pittance. She began to start offering contracts to people that owned them, just like a colonial master would. Case in point,
these are...
Myself and Pearl sat down to have a conversation about me signing to her contractually. And I want to make this very clear. I have never signed to the Just Pearly Things network. I have always been an independent. Pearl has known that, and I have known that. And so anytime I worked with Pearl, we had agreed a fee, and I worked for that fee. I have never been signed to the Just Pearly Things contracts. However, she has signed a few Africans, namely King Riches and Auntie Jenny. Now, I have no problem with a King Riches or an Auntie Jenny. However, if we look at the contracts that they signed, you would understand the reason why I use the term colonization and colonial. Now, myself and Pearl sat down to have a conversation, and she expressed to me that she wanted to do a new segment for her show. In that segment, she said that she would like me to present a topical news show on a day-to-day basis. So I said, okay, no problem. Talk to me. What are we talking about? And she said she would want me within her studio 4 days per week. I said, okay, from what time? She said from 10 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. And I said, okay, well, that is 7 hours. I said, so working 4 to 5 days a week for 7 hours is essentially a day job. I said to her, okay, so what is my guaranteed fee at the end of the month? What is the salary? And she looks at me and she says, we do not do guarantees and we do not do salaries. So I said, so if you don't do guarantees and you don't do salaries, what is it that you actually do? And she said she does percentages. So I said, okay, cool. Well, what's the percentage? She said, Sarah, you're the high end, so you will get 70-30. So I said, fine, okay, let me listen. 70% goes to me and 30% goes to you. Now she looked at me and she said, no, 70% goes to me.
Oh man.
Pearl.
Yikes.
30% goes to me, Sarah Garvey. And that's when I started scratching my head. And I said, hang on a minute. So are you telling me that's a high-end contract for you? And she said, yes. And I said, so are you saying that Just Pearly Things Network has other people on low-end contracts? No. She said, yes. I said, King Riches and Auntie Jenny? She said, yes. I said, what's the low end? She said, it's 10 to 15%. So essentially,
that's kind of wild.
Owning 80% of the content, which is basically the monetized views on somebody's channel.
That's girl bossing a little
take home
too hard.
15% of the money. She said yes. I said, Pearl, how long are these contracts for? She said 3 years.
Jeez.
So I said, let me get this straight. You want to own me for 3 years to take 70% of my ad revenue, keep me in your studio from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening for 4 to 5 days a week, and you are not guaranteeing me any money. I said respectfully, for what reason would I work for your company? She said, because we have a great studio and we have great lighting and we have great editors that will edit your stuff down. Now, I may be a lot of things, but I'm not an idiot. I may be cool, I may be calm, I may be collected, but I'm not a fool. And essentially, the colonial mindset of Pearl has people working on her quote-unquote plantation for absolute pittance, when a year ago, I suggested to her to look into exactly what colonization was, and she acted dumb.
Guys, people say that stuff.
Okay, these are just like scam contracts. I don't know why you would. I don't know any of this has to do with like colonialism. It's just, these are just scam contracts, you know?
About me. They say I'm sexist. They say I'm a misogynist. And, you know, I really just like to give people the benefit of the doubt when I interview them. I don't go into interviews trying to interrogate someone. I just more try to listen and see where they're coming from. In hindsight, that wasn't smart. And in hindsight, I should have had someone, you know, maybe Sarah Garvey, maybe another content creator that could have pushed back more and really was more educated on the topics that he was talking about than I was, because I certainly was not an expert in any of the stuff that he was talking about.
Now, I grew up in a time where there were brilliant R&B girl groups like TLC, and also brilliant R&B artists like Toni Braxton. They both sold millions and millions and millions of records, but they ended up broke. Why?
That's
Contracts.
not just black people, though.
They
That's
were
like,
signed to contracts.
that's every artist
that did
ever.
not favor them. And essentially, what Pearl is trying to do is come back in with the same contracts and do the exact same thing to the manosphere and do the exact same thing to the red pill community. Why? Because Kevin Samuels left a gap, and Kevin Samuels' fan base was predominantly black men, and Pearl has come in there and attempted
to colonize,
to be top of the food chain. I will not be a part of this game, and I will not be a part of this colony. I have always been an independent. If people in the UK who can actually say and watch all of my content can say that I've been around before Pearl even arrived in the UK, what would I look like signing my life away, essentially 70% of all I own, to this woman who just arrived in the UK the other day? She said to me that she's actually looking to sign more talent this year. Good for her. Good for the talent. But I hope they watch
Why is he
this
saying
video,
she didn't read the book
and
about
I hope
colonization?
they realize exactly
She
what
clearly
they will
read
be
it and
signing.
liked the model and
And I
adopted
actually
it.
hope that this
True.
video makes her
True, Dan.
think about the ways, because essentially I had been with her from the beginning and I had helped grow her channel. And if she could suggest this to me, somebody who helped her grow her channel, then you are nothing to her. I have only given you around 30% of what I know. We haven't even touched on the very odd and weird parties that Pearl likes to invite people to.
What?
And I was invited to one last year.
Uh-oh.
And
Sex parties.
she told me that her manager was coming from America and they were going to have a party. And very interestingly, they said that it was going to be board games. And I said, okay, cool. I don't mind playing Monopoly. I don't mind playing Snakes and Ladders. When I got there and I asked her about the board game, she said, no, a board game. There was a whiteboard in the living room. And what she proposed was that we all have a time on the whiteboard and we do what she says and we talk about certain things which were quite sexual and we put them on the whiteboard. But you know what I saw? I always saw her manager Kobe in the corner filming everything. And we've all spoken amongst ourselves and we've spoken about Hollywood and the things that go down. And within that party, what I saw was if people were on that board doing very sexual things and doing things while they were drunk, that stuff was being recorded. But we'll speak about it another time.
Here, I want to ask the men in here. Men in here. All right. I want to ask the men in here. Okay. Women, raise your hand if you think women like violence.
But at this point, recognize Senator Cruz.
What? Okay. Oh, we watched the the Just Pearly Things. Those are some aggressive contracts that they're writing over there in the Just Pearly Things world.
80-20 is crazy, bro. So like, if I'm being generous, let's say like I got a business mind, okay? I always think of everything on the back end. If she was on screen for the content, I would not mind that. The fact that she's nowhere on screen for the content makes it really fucking weird. Because I don't even know any MCMs nowadays who would ever offer contracts like that just for production on the back end.
That's wild. Yeah,
that's crazy.
If you're gonna rip somebody off that much, you're just paying them flat fees.
Absolutely.
You're never cutting anybody in on a contract. 80-20 in their favor. Like,
let me tell people, there is no podcast space that is worth that kind of thing. Now, I don't know, maybe she's helping them with casting, maybe she's also helping them with like everything social media related, maybe she's helping them with everything, and then maybe I could understand. So I would have to look at the contract, because like if you factor in all those things, I could see the cost going up, especially considering they're not big names. From a business standpoint, she would just be operating at a huge loss if they never make it. So I can understand wanting that return on investment. That's if she does everything. If she's just providing the podcast space, doing the thumbnails, and doing the editing, like, that's a no. That's a hard no. And that's a big L for them. But you know, if they want to sign those contracts, that's on them. How did you feel about them trying to cancel her for all the racial stuff?
So here's the thing. This happened a little bit to Adam as well. I feel like it's super exploitative when there's black creators and they know some shit's been happening the whole time, and then as soon as like something weird happens, they come out like they're fucking Malcolm X and they're trying to save like all the other black people, and they're doing everything they can for the cause. It feels really stupid and virtue signaling weird to me. It happened with Adam recently, where me and Richard Spencer guy had an interview on his show, and a whole bunch of people got mad because like, oh, this guy used to be a white supremacist and this blah 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 blah, but none of them even watched the interview, and that just it feels to me like you don't give a fuck. Like you're just here to like pick up you're here to pick up virtue signal points, like pretending that you care about like black people and the struggle and blah blah blah. I don't know, that I feel super disingenuous to me. I don't like it, but
I don't mind people getting mad about that. I just, you know what's so crazy? Pearl got her whole career basically just shitting on black women all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that a lot of the red pill space, Kevin Samuels kind of.
That's my point. No, you know what though? Like Kevin was at least balanced with his shit. Like he wasn't always doing that. Like there was times where he's uplifting them, or he's like showing love to there's certain kinds of behaviors that he was really going after.
Sure.
But if you want to make the point that Kevin's in that basket, I don't care. I'm not.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree with you. But I mean, like, there is a reason. There is a reason why when he died, like every black woman on Twitter was like, guy, I'm glad he's gone. But yeah, go ahead.
Fair. Okay, but I'm not going to debate that now.
Yeah, sure.
My thing is, these guys said nothing the entire time. They were like, you know, showing it love. This is fantastic, great. Pearl, do your thing. Like she used to have early videos where like she played on her race all the time. Whitest girl in the world listens to rap for the first time, or like whitest girl in the world discovers, I don't know, just name some rapper you know that. You know, it doesn't matter. She would do that all the time. And now she starts to make a name for herself, just constantly changing her MO. And all of a sudden, she does this one interview, and everyone's like, "Wait, how does she feel about black people?"
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, and like the guy's like talking about all these contracts. Blah blah. I was like, okay, well, why didn't you say anything at the time? Like, you didn't give a Nigerians or Africans or anything. Like, you're pandering now because it's popular too. If anything, it's even worse that you knew about this for how long and you didn't say anything. Like, that's bullshit. Yeah, and that just triggers me. And it's especially irritating because I thought this was up as soon as I heard about it, because I remember talking to her about it on the Adam Sosnick show. I think I might have given her a little shit on Sneaker Show because she told me, and she was like, yeah, we hire out all of our people in like India and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? That sounds really fucked up.
Cheap labor. Cheap labor.
Yeah, it is. But like nobody cared until it was populated because of the Fuente shit. And it was like, you guys, weak.
Yeah. I thought that approach to it was I thought it was crazy. Like, oh, now you guys see something wrong with it. So I didn't even really cover it because I think her biggest sin on that whole thing was basically just inviting this dude on and then just sitting there quietly like some fucking
man
broken bitch. You know what I mean?
Not
like,
even sitting there quietly. She was like laughing along with it. It was pretty rough.
Yeah. Like, of course, this girl, man, she hit me up. I think it was like a year and a half ago to do like a podcast. She hit me up, was like, I have one of the fastest growing podcasts. Check out this viral video. And I always thought it was so weird that a white woman was coming around like doing exclusively, mostly just interviews with black women, telling them they're unreasonable and ridiculous. I'm like, it's fine if you want to make that your mantra in your job, but like, why is it that you're only talking to black women online? That was really weird to me. And so just optically, like, I never wanted to work with her from that point, and I just never got involved. But I just think now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, could you believe it? I'm like, yeah, you motherfucker. You didn't think it was weird?
Yeah, you were working with her.
Like, that's all she does? Like, why is she going talking to no white women, no Latinas, nothing else? She just
And
talking to women?
I watched that video and the guy's like, here's me educating her. And he's like, do you know that some black people ask for reparations? I don't want to give an opinion on if it's right or wrong. And I'm like, bro, come on. Oh my God. Kill me.
They all had to massage her anus because they wanted to get on that platform.
Yep.
And so they knew what to say and how to do it in order to be able to work with her.